One, two. Good evening. Welcome to another episode of MXDTV. This is episode 28, if you can believe it. This is the 28th episode of MXDTV. And if you've joined us this evening, thanks for joining us. It's Thursday, September 8th. And I have to confess, I'm feeling a little strange today. Actually had a really nice day. And let's see. Okay, my executive producer has chimed in here to tell me things look great. Looks good. Okay. So we're cooking. Thanks for joining me here on MXDTV, and I've got a few things planned. I've got some stuff I want to read. I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna play, but that's okay. I don't need to know. But the important thing is tonight that in a few minutes here, I'm gonna get right to it. But I'm gonna play something. I'm gonna play a video that Melanie's new video. It's called her artist video that she did in collaboration with some really cool friends of ours. They're a production company called Little Bit, and it's Mimi Young and Richard Hall. They are also the team that helped do my video, The Queens of Coming and Going, along with Tim Gainey, who shot most of it, but Richard and Mimi were more on the production side of things and edited the video. But this one, for Melanie, they it was their idea. They approached Melanie and they had an idea of what they wanted to do, and they shot her in her studio and interviewed her and put it together, and it came out quite nice, I think. So we'll get to that in a few minutes. And I think the other thing of note is that I want to talk about is last night I played at Caffe Lena, which is a place I've wanted to play for a long time. And it was part of the poetry night, believe it or not, that I snuck in. But they let me bring my guitar, so I played some songs too. I think what I want to do tonight is this. What I was going to say was I was quite nervous to play there, but it was pretty cool. I think what I want to do tonight is I want to start with some poems. And I'm going to start with some poems from a guy named Ted Kuzer, who was at Fresno City College. My first poetry teacher was a guy named Dwayne Rail, and he was my first real poetry critic, and it was he that kind of spurred me on and gave me the belief that maybe I might be a poet. And his favorite poet was this guy, Ted Kuzer. So it's because of him that I own this book. And I can see why it's his favorite poet. Dwayne Rail wrote simple, little, concise poems, much like these. And I'm going to read you about 4 of them right now because they're all quite short. And I think I'll start the evening that way because I really don't know what to do. And so I'm going to start with these poems from a book I've had for a long time called One World at a Time. And check this out. I know I've got this cool little thing I know how to do now. Guy's name is Ted Kuzer. And I'm going to read 4 of his poems. And we're going to start that way, and then we'll watch Melanie's video, I think. The first one is wonderful. It's a beautiful poem called... So this is from the very first section of the book. And the very first poem is called Flying at Night. That's a little intrusive, isn't it? Okay. Flying at night. Above us, stars. Beneath us, constellations. 5 billion miles away, a galaxy dies like a snowflake falling on water. Below us, some farmer, feeling the chill of that distant death, snaps on his yard light, drawing his sheds and barn back into the little system of his care. All night, the cities, like shimmering novas, tug with bright streets at lonely lights like his. So beautiful, and you know, they're short, which is really nice. I became painfully aware last night how long my poems are. I noticed everybody kind of looking at me in the audience as if, are these poems ever going to end? And I'm feeling a little wayward this evening, and I thought, well, Dwayne Rail was always an inspiration to me, and this was his favorite poet, so I thought I'd dig this book out and read some stuff. The next one is called A Fence Row in Early March. The last snow drifts have drawn themselves up out of the light, clinging to winter. Beyond them, a muddy stubble field has sponged up all the darkness. The February nights, the iron stoves, the ink of every letter written in longing, and the fence row goes on, up and over the next low rise and the next, casting a cold white shadow, each gate still closed to spring. This one's called Just Now. Just now, if I look back down the cool street of the past, I can see street lamps, one for each year, lighting small circles of time into which someone will step if I squint, if I try hard enough. Circles smaller and smaller, leading back to the one faint point at the start, like a star. So many of them are empty now, those circles of roadside and grass. In one, the moth of some feeling still flutters unspoken, the cold darkness around it, enormous. I'm going to read one more, and then we'll watch Melanie's video. This one's really, you know, if you ever look at the preview for my show, I often give you a list of topics that I say I'm going to discuss, and often I never get to any of them. I do it maybe more for comedic effect, but you'll notice almost in every list of topics I always mention death. And I'm always preoccupied with it, and more so today than normal for some reason, or in the last couple days. So this one's appropriate. It's called A Birthday Card. In her 80s now, and weak and ill with emphysema, my aunt sends me a birthday card, a tossing ocean with clipper ship, and wishes me well at 44. She's included a note, hard bitten in ballpoint, with a pen that sometimes skips whole words but never turns back, to tell me her end of the news, how the steroids have softened her spine, and now how every X-ray shows more shattered bone. Her hasty words skip in and out, their little grooves washed clean of ink, the message rising and falling like shortwave radio, sending this hurried SOS with love. It's a wonderful book. All right. Why don't we watch Melanie's video? What do you think, Melanie? Should we watch your video, or are you watching tennis? Melanie may not be with us. She might be watching the U.S. Open, which I totally get. She's like my mother, and Melanie and I are just like, there's Sherry. Hey, Sherry. Yes. Oh, happy birthday, Rick. Are you out there? I owe you a happy birthday, buddy. Cool. Okay. Melanie and I are replicas of my mother and father. And my mother, in my household, there was always, when tennis was on, we watched tennis, and my mom and dad loved tennis. I do too, and I actually have hopes of us becoming I think we're gonna put Mary into tennis lessons, and we hope she becomes a famous tennis player, and that we can sit in the stands with sunglasses on and cool outfits, and the camera will pan to us every once in a while. That's my hope. That's my big dream. I know Melanie's with me on that. So anyway, Melanie and I had a beautiful day today. We've sent Mary back to school, and so we had an unexpected day together, and it was lovely, wasn't it? So without further ado, I'm going to play Melanie's new, let's see. Yeah, it's because of him that we watch tennis, right? Okay, so I'm going to play your video, and is there anything I should say to set it up? I think it's really cool. I think it speaks for itself, and I'm just going to hit play, and here we go. Enjoy it.
I do like really loud music. I've always liked loud music. You know, I'm a punk rocker at heart. I was always in the mosh pit. I mean, to think of myself as that younger self, just, you know, there's such an energy when we're young, right? When I start a painting, I get my tools ready. I clean up my sticks, my RNF pigment sticks. I typically will mix maybe some piles of gray paint, or if there's some leftover paint on my palette, I'll scrape that up and add in some white. And I will start with my woody sticks, the kind of drawing tools, to get some line and energy on the canvas. And then I go in with leftover paint or sticks and I scrape, move it around. I try and make just the white completely go away. To have a place to start and to continue, I guess, yeah. And when I get into my studio, it feels like the ultimate opportunity to stop thinking. So it really is a feeling that I try and be in the moment as best I can, and be paying attention to the way the color is moving. I just try and listen to the feelings that come with each mark. And I feel so calm. I feel so calm after painting for a couple hours. And calm is not, in my opinion, a way I would describe myself. I feel like I'm pretty, I have a fire, you know, I've got that fire going. Intense energy, a lot of ideas, a lot of energy, emotions. So. But orange is my favorite color in a painting. I find that orange always finds its way in. Sometimes even when I cover it up, it's gonna peek through and find its way back in. But yeah, I always say I've had a love affair with orange since I was in 7th grade. I have friends who remind me that I must have had an orange marker, and that's how I signed the yearbook that year. Yeah, I should probably stop there before something terrible happens. When I was young, I mean, I didn't know Marc until I was in my 30s, but yeah, I mean, I was wild. I was wild, a wild, wild kid. You know, I was arrested a lot. I was a you know, fighter. I thought I was this real tough kid, and you know, I mean, that stuff just seems like, oh, that's what teenagers do. But, you know, I ran away all the time. And you know, you don't know what's happening even as you're a kid. You're seeking something. You're seeking community. I didn't even know I was an artist. I mean, I always had a camera in my hands. But I liked to race. I liked to drive really fast. I would race my cars from New Jersey to the city. You know, I'm lucky to be alive. Marc made my first studio. I wasn't painting. I didn't have my own art practice until I met him. And he saw a pile of art tools in my apartment, and he said, "You didn't tell me you were an artist." And I said, "Oh, I'm an artist who doesn't make art." And he said, "Oh, well, we should change that." So he created a space in his apartment the first year we were dating. It was my birthday, and he said, "Oh, can you go out to the mudroom and grab," I don't know what he was asking me to get, and I went out there, and he had completely cleaned out the space and said, "It's your turn, buddy. Like it's time. You know, it's time for you to paint." And I've been painting ever since, and that was 11 years ago. I love that saying, you know, get busy living or get busy dying. You know, I feel like that's really there with me in my painting and I think everything, but yeah. So here's my title list, my ongoing titles. The Last Hurricane, Habitual Dining, The Opposite of Orange. I know, Rufus. I wrote this one down, and this could be it. Busting into the Beginning of Absolutely Nothing. This might be the one. Yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Let's see, what does Sherry have to say? You like the title list? Yes, that's one of the great joys of our household. We keep a title list. Mary helps us. We all do it. If somebody says something, we'll say that's a title. Yeah, that's a good one. Let's see. Yes, of course. It's really wonderful. Get busy living or get busy dying. I have been preoccupied with death lately, and only because I guess I know. I'm so glad you said that, and I think the thing that's good for you and I, and the reason why our thing works, is that that's what we do for each other. Is that the pact we made when we met was that we each have a dream. I have a dream, and Melanie has a dream, and we were pretty unfulfilled when we met. And the pact has been that we're going to help each other work on the dream, whatever that looks like. And that's what we're doing. And Melanie has had some nice success with her work, and she just started her first class at the Woodstock School of Art, and it was full. She has a waiting list. She's just sold some big paintings. She has a chocolate bar being made and they're using her design in the chocolate bar. Very proud of her. So, let's see, what does that say? Oh, hey Peter, right on, man. Yes, isn't it great? So you can watch that. Do you have it up on your website, Melanie, or is it just on that Vimeo link? Why don't you put the Vimeo link up? Yeah, I would suggest go back and watch it again. In the future, we played it tonight, and we were going to have Melanie and Richard Hall and Mimi on, but they couldn't make it, and so we decided to show it because the video's out, and I just wanted you guys to see it. But we're going to show it again next month, and we're going to have Richard and Mimi on too. We're going to have Richard, Mimi, and Melanie all on, and we'll talk about the video. We'll talk about what's going on with everybody. They've become some cool collaborative friends of ours. Get busy living or get busy dying, right? And that's what we're doing together. Is we're trying to get busy living. And I recently listened to this podcast, this one that I love a lot. I know I'm just talking tonight, but I got to be honest with you. I feel a little. This is what I feel like doing. So. I listened to this podcast called Hardcore Literature, and it's one of my favorite podcasts. And if Melanie, if you're watching and not watching tennis, can you put that up? It's the recent episode. It's about an hour and a half long, and he talks about. It's called. What is it called? The title is How to Read in Times of Need, and it talks about feeling troubled or depressed or going through things in your life, and the benefits of reading literature and poetry in those times. There it is. Thank you very much. I highly recommend it. I know a lot of people turn to self-help books, and they turn to religious books, and they turn to, 5 steps to do this or 10 steps to learn how to feel better or whatever. But this guy kind of articulates what I feel often, which is that literature is where you can find a lot of healing and answers to life's snares, or as he puts it, our own snares, our own mind. There's Melanie's link there. He said something in the podcast. He says something really, it does sound pretty self-helpy, and it does sound pretty obvious, but he says, learn how to be a friend to yourself. I thought that was really cool. I'm going to play you this old folk song about death. A poor wayfaring stranger traveling through this world of woe. There is no sickness, no toil or danger in that bright land to which I go. My mother, she said she'd meet me when I come. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going home. No dark clouds gather over me. Know my way is dark and steep, beautiful. Those fields before me, God's redeemed. Their vigils keep going there. My father said he'd meet me when I come. Only going over Jordan. Only going home. And I want to wear crown of glory when I get home to that good land. And I want to sing my Savior's story, playing in that blood-soaked band. Savior, she said she'd meet me when I come. Only going over Jordan. Only only going, going on, only going, going on, only going, going on. In time we will be free from the frames of our bodies. Click clack of bones collapsing to an abrupt end. We are alone across the river, no help from the shore. The mandatory watchman, a ghost, I was never there. We were alone across the river. We were alone. We were alone. We were alone. The little poem at the end there is something called At Last, the Hurricane. And Melanie had a title on her list called The Last Hurricane. So I wonder where all that came from. It's been in our list. Oh yes, we could certainly use a mandolin on that one, Russ Little. Thanks for tuning in, brother. The one and only Russ Little of Vesper Lake is here with us. Have you submitted those football picks yet, buddy? That's a very haunted song. I'll tell you, I love that song so much. The best version of that song I've ever heard, and I know I've said this before, but it's by musician woman named Tift Merritt, and it's on this stunning record. It's one of my favorite records. She did it with another woman who's a classical pianist. What'd you say? You bet. Okay, we did our football picks for the week. Anyway, Tift Merritt does a killer version of Wayfaring Stranger, and it's on the album Night, that she does with another woman who's a classical pianist, and I can't remember her name now. But if Melanie, you think of looking it up on Spotify, it's Tift, T-I-F-T, Merritt, M-E-R-R-I-T, and the record's called Night. If you could put a link of that. I know you're watching tennis, but if you feel moved. Yeah, I'm gonna play you another old song. I'm kind of not sure what to play tonight, so I'm gonna play you this song because this song, I've been having these dreams, you know? I have a lot of dreams. And in my dreams, I think it's important for me to say first that I don't, it's no secret that I talk about my drug and alcohol problem, and here it is. Great, thanks, Melanie. It's a killer record, man. It's just one of my all-time favorite records. And her version of Wayfaring Stranger is what moved me to want to play it. I have a lot of dreams. There's no secret that I've had that I'm clean and sober, and I'm in recovery. And in my waking hours, miraculously, I have no desire to drink or use drugs, which was never the case for me. I always wanted to. I thought I was a doomed alcoholic, drug addict. But in my waking hours, I have no desire to do it anymore. But in my dreams, I still get loaded all the time. I have dreams where I've gotten high in secret, and then I'm faced with the dilemma of having to tell everybody, and my sobriety date's been ruined. And, I mean, I'm going on 12 or 13 years sobriety now. I don't remember. February 10th, 2009. 13 years, I guess. All of that is to say, I've been troubled in my dreams with all of this. And there's some kind of connection between dreams and our dream life and our waking life, and songs and stories and poems. It's all connected for me. There's some kind of other world happening, and so these songs, particular Wayfaring Stranger and the one I'm about to play you, have some connection. This one might have saved my life. I had hawked all my guitars. All I had left was this black guitar behind me. And I was doing a lot of drugs, and I was pretty crazy. And I was hanging out with all these really wild people. And somebody asked me to play a song once while we were all sitting there. They saw the guitar. We'd been up for days. And I couldn't play. Like, I would pick up a guitar to play and sing, and I couldn't even ever get through a song because I was always I did a lot of speed. And I couldn't get through songs. But somebody asked me to play a song on this black guitar here, and I played this song. Cocaine, cocaine, round my heart and around my brain. Cocaine, are you old cocaine? I woke up this morning out of hunger pain. All I want for breakfast is my good cocaine, the cocaine. Are you old cocaine? Come here, mama, come here quick. That old coke's got me and I'm feeling sick. Get out of here, mama, I thought you understood. Got no connection, so you're no damn good to me. I can't keep a job and I'm strange, you said. And everyone knows that my girlfriend is cocaine. That's my sweetheart cocaine. Locked inside, I don't make a sound. Well, I hear you knocking, but I ain't coming out. Cocaine, it's me and my old cocaine. Well, coke, it's for horses, Lord, it ain't for men. They say it'll kill you, but they don't say when. That's the problem with that stuff. Well, I'm older now, you know, I don't do that stuff anymore. I got a wife and a dog and a job and a car and a kid. I don't really have a job, I guess. Cocaine, cocaine, round my heart and around my brain. Cocaine, are you old cocaine? Are you old cocaine? Are you old cocaine? I don't know why I played that so high. For some reason, I played it pretty high. But that song, I think the first person I heard do that song was Townes Van Zandt. It was the record you gave me, Russ Little. It was live at the Old Quarter. And I just, as soon as I heard that song, I knew I had to play it. I don't play it anything like I've made up my own version of it. I've always just been able to play it in my own way. I've added some verses. I came up with some of my own words to it, and I just was able to do that with that song right away. And for years, when I first started performing, I'd always play that song. Um, but that day, I played it in the room for these people, and they all kind of looked at me when I got done, because for whatever reason, I was able to get through that song. And when I got done, they all kind of looked at me, and this one woman said to me, she's like, she said something like, "What are you doing? How come you're not doing that?" Or something like that. She said, "How come you don't do that instead of this?" And it was right at the end of my lifestyle, and that was a really pivotal moment for me. It kind of resonated, and it's once I stopped drinking and using, that was it. I decided I was going to do this. And meeting Melanie, that was the deal. We were going to do this. I'm going to read you a Dennis Johnson poem. I'm a huge Dennis Johnson fan. If you know me, you know I talk about Dennis Johnson constantly. This is a book of his poems. He's a novelist, an essayist, and I've read all of his novels. They're all right down there. You can't see them. But his books are phenomenal. He's just like one of the greatest writers of all time. But there's a couple of really cool poems of his in here, and I'm going to read them. I'm going to read this short one first. It's called White, White Collars. We work in this building, and we are hideous in the fluorescent light. You know, our clothes woke up this morning and swallowed us like jewels and ride up and down the elevators, filled with us, turning and returning like the spray of light that goes around dance halls among the dancing fools. My office smells like a theory, but here one weeps to see the goodness of the world laid bare and rising with the government on its lips, the alphabet congealing in the air around our heads. But in my belly's flames, someone is dancing, calling me by many names that are secret and filled with light and rise and break, and I see my previous lives. That's pretty great. I feel like that relates to what we're talking about here, and that in Mary's first grade classroom, the teacher has a Picasso quote up, and I don't remember exactly how it goes, but it's right. It's something to the effect of, and this is what I've been saying lately. Find out what it is you love to do and do that. Do that. That's the paraphrase of the Picasso quote. I don't remember what it is, but I saw it on the wall, and I told the teacher, I go, "Yeah, that's it. That's it. I think that's it." I'm gonna read a couple more of his poems because I can. This one's called Enough. The terminal flopped out around us like a dirty hanky, surrounded by the future population of death row in their disguises. High school truant, bewildered Korean refugee, we complain that bus 18 will never arrive. When it arrives, complain what an injury is this bus again today, venerable and destined to stall. When it stalls at 16th and McDowell, most of us get out to eat ourselves alive in a 24-hour diner that promises not to carry us beyond this angry dream of grease and the cries of spoons, that swears our homes are invisible and we never lived in them, that a bus hasn't passed here in years. Sometimes the closest I get to loving the others is hating all of us for drinking coffee in this stationary sadness where nobody's dull, venereal joking breaks into words that say it for the last time. as if we held in the heavens of our arms not cherishable things, but only the strength it takes to leave home and then go back again. He's swinging hard on these. They really speak to me. I haven't read this book in a while, and I laid on the floor and just looked at my books and picked this one out. I'm pretty wayward this evening, and so thanks for hanging in there with me. There it is. That's the Picasso quote. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. That's right. That's right. That's right. There's so many things that match up with that. There's, when you start reading about myths and which pertain to dreams, myths and symbols, and the hero's journey. The hero's journey is supposed to be that, they discover what their strength is, or they discover what their gift is, and then the hero at the end of the journey is supposed to take I'm probably messing this all up. I'm not super well versed in it, but I have dabbled in it because it's fascinating to me. But the hero is supposed to turn around and whatever it is he's learned or received in his journey, after he or she has triumphed, there to turn around and share it with the world. I probably totally choked that. Marty Williams, if you're listening to this drivel, you can totally say it better. But you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it's good to be here. It's good to read these poems and play a couple songs. And I'm going to read one more from Dennis because they're really killing me right now. And just reading these has energized me. So, and if you listen to that podcast I mentioned earlier, he talks a lot about what's happening to me right now. The connection that's made when you read something from somebody else. Dennis Johnson's gone. He's dead. He died. But I read his books all the time. And whenever I read his books, this is what happens. I get energized. There's somebody out there who gets it, at least sees the world the way I see it and can articulate it in a way that makes me feel A, not alone, and B, better, because I don't feel like I'm crazy anymore. And that's important to me. I think it's important to all of us, really. I'm going to read this poem called Night. I am looking out over the bay at sundown and getting lushed with a 59-year-old heavily rouged cocktail lounge singer, this total stranger. We watch the pitiful little ferry boats that ply between this world and that other one, touched to flame by the sunset, talking with unmanageable excitement about the weather. The sky and huge waters turn vermilion as the cheap drink hour ends. We part with a grief as cutting as that line between water and air. I go downstairs and I go outside. It is like stepping into the wake of a tactless remark, the city's stupid chatter hurrying to cover up the shocked lull. The moon's mouth is moving, and I am just leaning forward to listen for the eventual, terrible silence when he begins, in the tones of a saddened, delinquent son returned unrecognizable, naming those things it now seems I might have done to have prevented his miserable life. I am desolate. What is happening to me? Dennis Johnson was a recovered addict. I believe he was a heroin user. I know, I did too. There's something about drinking with strangers, just strangers in general, the camaraderie that you have, the destitute acquire and share. Dennis Johnson was an alcoholic, drug addict, recovered, and he writes brilliantly about it. And often he would dedicate his books to HP, which, if you're in the program, you know that means higher power, because they urge you in the program to find a higher power, and turn your trouble over to that. And it can be anything. And the freedom I found was when they said, you can find a God of your own understanding. And when I realized I could quit arguing religion with people and arguing about the existence of God, any God, there was so much freedom in that for me. I was really happy when that happened. When I could stop arguing with people about things. I used to get really worked up. I was a really terrible debater, arguer. I always lost because I get so heated. Amen. What's this one? Amen, Melanie says. Yeah. In classrooms, I would always get really hot, and I'd feel like people were missing the point, and I had to enlighten them. Of course, I was the smartest guy in the room. And anyway, it didn't work out for me. I'm gonna play this song. I'm playing some stuff. I'm gonna play some stuff off of my first record, because the first record is concerned with getting sober, and I was going through it. I was nearly sober. And all I had done was destroy lives, anybody close to me, and of course my own. So this song was a staple early on. I've played it millions of times, and I'm going to play it again because I felt like this, to be honest, I felt like this was the first good song I'd ever written. It had something that I was proud of. I don't know how good it actually is, but at the time, for trying to write songs, I felt like it was pretty good for a first effort. I mean, it wasn't my first effort, but like a legitimate effort, I guess. Sailors came too late to celebrate. The mindset was it's always gonna be this way. To make up for lost time, we drank and drank and drank. Ambitious ships set sail and dashed their stupid dreams along the beach, dear Kate. Storyteller's face is flat and gray. The policeman said, take all of your hidden things and please just quietly go away. The printed thief, the poet he had, wait and wait and wait. The story never ends. But you know you can't depend on me, dear Kate. Major Tom was wrong. It's not lonely out in space. When your friend's gone, you know that you're in a better place. 'Cause here we are right now to the end, dear Kate. Here we are right now to the end. St. George was waiting on didn't seem to care. The hero had been slain. The beast that stole your love. Ate and ate and ate. Sometimes you just pretend and make defeat your friend. Oh, won't you please, dear Kate? Major Tom was wrong. It's not lonely out in space when your friend's gone. You know that you're in a better place. 'Cause here we are right now till the end, dear Kate. Here we are right now till the end. Ashes to ashes and funk to funky. We know Major Tom's a junkie, strung out in heaven's high, hidden an all-time low. Ashes to ashes and funk to funky. We know Major Tom's a junkie, strung out in heaven's high, hitting an all-time low. My mama said to get things done, you better not mess with Major Tom. My mama said to get things done, better not mess with Major Tom. My mama said to get things done, we better not mess with Major Tom. Looks like my friend Dave Dominici is here. Hey, Dave. Dave is an old friend of mine from the UPS days in Fresno, California. We used to hang out. yeah. We were bad. I mean, you were not so bad. I was pretty bad then, but we had a lot of fun, didn't we? We played a lot of guitar back then. Thanks for tuning in, Dave, man. It's been a long time, brother. Miles away, and the burning fever's gone from the heat waves and the freight trains, in time and space. Well, it turns and it teeters on, slightly different turn away. Hey. And what's that speed? It's traveling on. And what's that sound? keeps her hanging all along by the freeways. What's that speed? She's traveling on. What's that sound that keeps her hanging all along by the freeways and the freight trains? She stayed too long. She stayed too long. She stayed too long. That's the boats in San Pedro Harbor. I always loved you too, Dave. He's a good guy. Well, there's one more thing I want to do. If you want to stick around with me, if not, if you'd rather watch tennis, I get it. I get it. I want to read something. I did this thing last night at Caffe Lena, which is in Saratoga Springs, and I've wanted to play there my whole life, and I finally got a chance, and I got there by way of my poetry over my music. But I got to do both, and I was quite nervous. I was very nervous, to be honest with you, because when you get to do something you've always wanted to do, and you've worked really hard to get it, and then you get it, anyway, in my case, I get pretty nervous. I've come a long way, and I've battled with some pretty hardcore demons and some pretty low self-esteem. So it was really cool, and I was nervous, but I did it, and I felt really good about it, and you know, the woman there asked me if all I had was my records. I had my records, and I put my records out for sale, but it was a poetry night, and they wanted to know where my book was. And I've been promising a book to you, folks. Those of you that tune in and listen and follow me, you know that I am writing a book. And I keep telling you it's going to be ready soon, and it's not. And so I want to read something to you that I haven't read in a while, but I think this might be part of the book. I'm not sure. And I haven't looked this over in a long time. So I'm going to read it now. It'll take a few minutes, and this will be the last thing I do tonight. But this is something I wrote for my mom, who has been gone for quite some time now. And I believe this is called Kathleen because that was her name. But I'm going to read it. It's not that long. It's a little long, but not that long. And we'll see how it shakes out. I don't know. I don't know. I just feel moved to read this. What's Dave saying? Oh, we already covered that. I have always loved you too, Dave. All right, let's give this a try. I believe this is called Kathleen. If you're here with me tonight, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for, I don't know, coming along for the ride. Not long after my mother died, she began to visit me frequently. There are many common misconceptions when it comes to, and pardon me for using this term, paranormal activity, and one of them is ghosts, specters, wraiths, phantoms, and what have you only visit at night. Or they arrive when they do with some cryptic message, some mystery for us to solve, some wrong to be righted. My experience has been a little different. I mean, there is a storytelling element here, and there is certainly a trunk full of or two of wrongs that need to be righted. She comes around, I think, mainly to goad me into action. I believe, and this is probably the illusion or fantasy of all writers, that she wants me to tell her story, to get it right. Not the one we know, but the real one, the one lying underneath. It's the same with me, you know. I've been telling you the same thing about me for some time now, but I eventually am going to have to get to the real thing. So, this is what it's like since my mother left her physical body. I'm eating breakfast, alone, in a diner, and she appears. She'll sidle up alongside me, not across, and grab a menu and start talking about how to cook the perfect egg, or the culinary attributes of the beet, or remind me of her famous cactus and pork chops dish, or the fried bread doughs with sauce. She'll remind me how I enjoyed dressing up and being dressed up by my older sisters as a woman named Lucy. My favorite accessory was a faux string of pearls. She'll say, I went crazy. Yes, I did. I didn't want to, and in moments of clarity, late at night, smoking a Newport with my legs tucked under me, reading a detective novel, I felt like I knew who I was. I was a girl from Jersey City. I fucking liked smoking Newports. I liked detective stories. It was the only time I was me, late at night, when everyone else was squared away and resting. I couldn't sleep because I needed to feel like myself. I needed that time. Because I had to take care of fucking everything. I lost myself. I lost myself in you. You became the thing, and I wanted to make you happy because I couldn't be happy anymore. I just couldn't. And I'm sorry, pal, I am, because in my own way I loved you, and your sisters, and even your father. And I tried, I really did, but I couldn't make it happen. And I loved food. My mother, let's call her Kathleen because that's her name. She was born Kathleen Louise Kearns. Kathleen was an opinionated woman. I didn't know her as a child or even a young woman, which I think is very important here. I think she wants us to know. I know I want to know. There are, of course, the family photos. And Kathleen, when she was young, now, hang in there, I'm sure all mama's boys think their mother was beautiful and to some extent have a crush on them. Thank you, Mr. Freud. Interesting side note, I've been informed by my eldest sister, Franny, on one of our late-night phone calls when I was describing the incomprehensible behavior of my wife. My sister, usually devoid of irony, said flatly, You know, Mark, you married your mother. Kathleen, pre-mom, looked a lot like a young Judy Garland. Her eyes, even through her cat-eye-rimmed glasses, you could see possessed a sultry nature. Dare I say it? She was sexy. My father was handsome. They were thin. They looked cool. That is not how I remember them. I remember my father as severe, and as I like to say, I remember my father as severe, and as I like to say, without poetry. Kathleen was fun and psychotic and tender and jovial and heavily opinionated and given to wrath. I never knew what would set her off, and once I had done so, she would erupt into extreme fits of violence and rage, or even worse, she would go silent. I received my worst beatings not from my father, who was consistent with his doling out of corporal punishment, but from Kathleen. She hated religion, hated it. I think I have this right. She believed religion, in our case, more specifically because this is what we were subjected to, Christianity, was a negative and corrosive device used by men to subjugate and control women and the poor. The Bible is a book written by men for men, she would blurt out acidly whenever someone was trying to peddle their belief around her. And in our neck of the woods, Fresno, California, that was often. Franny, in her 20s, fell in with a youth group, as they call them, and turned her life over to Christ. It was honest and sincere. I have never known Franny to be anything but. Some would liken these movements to Jim Jones or Marshall Applewhite's Heaven's Gate. I don't know. She was, like we all are, searching. Christ, I myself played guitar on a worship team on Sundays and played in a Christian folk rock group for years in my attempt to do spiritual battle with Mr. Sorrow. I even, at one point, drawn by the academic nature of it, considered the seminary. Alas, cocaine got the better of me. Anyhow, in her zeal for her newfound belief and desire to share the good news, Franny came home and made the mistake of telling Kathleen her soul was in jeopardy, and without action she would be confined to the flames of hell for eternity. Maybe not in those words, but that is the gist. Not very receptive when it comes to the soul, Kathleen didn't take this too well. After much screaming and yelling and crying and gnashing of the teeth, so to speak, Franny became, in our family, the victim of, I believe, the longest and cruelest silent period ever recorded. I'm in class, a poetry workshop. As you could imagine, there are many empty seats. In walks Kathleen and sits down beside me with a pfft and looks at me with raised eyebrows. We are reading Frank Bedart's Stardust. She grabs the slim volume from my hand and reads, "Understand that it can drink till it is sick, but cannot drink till it is satisfied. It alone knows you. It does not wish you well." She stays for the rest of class, rapt. Like all fatal flaws, it ain't the flaw. It's something else. Kathleen's downfall was food. It killed her. The very thing that sustains us. Can you imagine? The paradox, the irony, the tyranny. What a cook. What a mother. I always had the best bag lunch of the group. I was the envy of the playground. 2 salami sandwiches stacked with meat and cheese, 2 pickles, 2 Twinkies, a bag of chips. I'm not kidding. That was every day. Every day. When I got home, something was on the stove. There was a snack while I waited. My father, on the weekends, made breakfast. Everything else was Kathleen's domain. And she did not hold back. All of her love and affection and desire and ambition, I know now, went into it. We all got on board except the old man. He saw through the ruse. She was sedating herself and the rest of us. It felt really good. During dinner, Kathleen would often talk about how she wanted to remodel the front of the house. She wanted to remove the numerous paneled windows that looked out from our dining room and replace them with a big bay window. That's how she described it, a big bay window. And she would illustrate the grand design with a sweeping gesture of her enormous arms. She had this way of talking about things and looking off into the distance with a smile on her face. One light blue eye smaller than the other. I was on board, sure. A big bay window, let's do it. We never did it, and that's it, isn't it? That's the thing, not doing it. It never happened. Just like she never moved back to New Jersey like she always threatened to do. She should have. I wish she fucking would have. I do. Fucking Fresno? What a death sentence. I would have even gone with her. I would have. I like this class, she says, and gets up and walks out. Outside in the parking lot, she is waiting for me. She is sitting in the passenger seat of my Subaru. She has the music on, and she is listening to Nat King Cole. I know how you feel, she says. When I was a kid in New Jersey, my mother used to hide my father's whiskey bottles. He would pay us kids a nickel if we found one of them. He drank himself to death. You look and act just like him, Nick. From the side, you look just like him. Do you know that? My mother, Paula, she died the exact same age I did, 60. She ate a lot too. She was beautiful and violent. She once threw the family doctor down the steps of the fire escape. We were living in the projects. She did it because he said I wouldn't recover from my illness at the time. He said I was going to die. I don't know what happened to him. It was a rough place. Jersey City. There was a lot of fighting and a lot of gangs. The black girls and the Italian girls would fight a lot. The Puerto Rican girls. Some of them were my friends. I was afraid a lot. I had to fight. I loved my mother. She was everything to me. I never should have left, you know. I met your father and he was so handsome and funny and charming. I just wanted to be with him. Being a wife and being a mother blindsided me. I thought I wanted that, but it wasn't what I expected. I felt like a stranger in California. I never got used to it. The lifestyle didn't suit me. I like to curse. I like to fight. I like to tell jokes and drink vodka. I love Bloody Marys. I like to drink those and smoke Newports. I like to cook and eat. I love the water. I love the ocean. Your father, it seemed like he didn't love anything. Even himself, it's not his fault, really. You remember John, his father? He was a hard man. I know how you feel. Keep reading. That's a good thing. I'm glad you're not drinking anymore. When you cook an egg, use medium heat. If you want to put a new window in, put it in. Don't think too much about it. Be nice to your daughter. Play a lot. Read a lot. Remember how much fun we had? All the movies and the books and the lunch dates. When your wife is acting crazy, go easy on her. Try to do something nice. It's hard to be a mother. It's hard to be. Whew. Well, there you go. Right. Well, thanks for sticking around. I don't know if tennis is still on, but you could watch that. Huh. All right. Thanks for hanging in there with me tonight. The show must go on, they say. So here we are, even when we don't know what to do. And I have a great desire. All right, man. Love you, Dave. Thanks for tuning in, pal. I have a great desire for fried chicken at this moment, but I'll desist. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking around. And I'll see you next week. Have a good night.